And to end off with our penultimate topic of the night, it seems like the newer generation of the NBA has been a lot more entertaining to watch. And the older generation, as we've seen with evidence in the past, have kind of taken offense to this. Always seems to be a disconnect with the older generation and newer generations of the NBA. Meanwhile, in the NFL, it almost feels like at times it's like the complete opposite. So why do you think the older and newer generations of the NBA bicker with each other as opposed to what we see in the NFL, where it seems like they can actually coexist with each other? Uh, this was the question that you wanted to talk about first, Bam. So we'll start with you.
It it really always perplexes me because I see it constantly, and it just doesn't make sense to me because they are essentially the same. The only thing I could think of is that the NBA guys, they want to keep their glory. They don't want to um they don't want to get out the spotlight. They want to stay in the spotlight forever, perpetually. And it kind of irritates them. That's why it's really the core. It goes back to the core of uh you know kind of generation wars. The older guys feel like the younger guys are so ungrateful. The game is so much different than how it was when they played, and they hate that because they feel like the game is easier somehow, which it doesn't really, that argument never ever really made sense to me. Um, that's just the only thing I can think of. What inspired me to ask this question is that I seen Kendrick Perkins talking about John Morant and how he um he basically insinuated he's the reason why John Morant is so infamous as a star because he talked about John Morant and got him more national games. Now Perk is like, what the fuck are we talking about, Kendrick? Like, he always says some stupid shit, so you can only give it so much credence. But you see so much shit like that, old guys getting on podcasts and saying the most outlandish shit, as compared to when you look at the NFL. The best example I could think of is uh Chad Ochocinco embracing T. Higgins and Jamar Chase. Like, uh what else? The relationship that Michael Vick and Lamar Jackson had for a long time. Just things like that. And these older guys, they embrace the younger guys in terms of the NFL, and it really it doesn't make any sense because you would expect that for any older generation compared to a younger generation. But it's something that baffles me.
All right, TK.
I think it's just jealousy, bro. Like we know how old heads get when you get to try to telling them, "Oh, this generation is better, and the players are more athletic," and blah blah blah. I think the easiest way to describe it, bro, is PC is the Michael Jordan and LeBron James debate. Our generation is gonna feel like it's LeBron James because we just feel like the players are more athletic, they're better, they're jumping higher, they're shooting more. And whereas old heads, they feel like their version and their era of the NBA was a lot better, Bam. As far as it was one thing they love to say, bro, is we always hear it was a lot tougher. Um, I mean, it was, but you were allowed to get away with a lot more defensively that you can't simply get away with in this era. So I don't know, bro. Like I said, I think the big word is is, is really just CPC. They don't want, I guess, set it up for players in this generation, Bam, is I guess what I'm trying to say, bro. They can't believe that the players that set the foundation back in the day to give the opportunity to the players that we see in this league today, they can't get over the fact that you may have paved the way, but there are players that these players are just different, bro. Like technology is
But
different.
see,
These players are taller, they're stronger, they're faster. That's just how it is, bro. And like I said,
but that's my thing.
it's really the Michael Jordan and LeBron James debate, bro. That's exactly what it is when we talk about this, bro. It's the best way to put it because you know how it is with Michael Jordan fans, but they're always gonna feel like you feel me. It's Michael Jordan, and no player could ever do what Michael Jordan did, and this and that and that and this. But at the end of the day, bro, like if you take your pride, put your pride to the side, bro. You actually sit down and watch these games, bro. There's no fucking way, excuse my language, that I don't care, bro. There's no way you're gonna ever convince me that 80s basketball, 90s basketball is better than the era of basketball that we're seeing right now. And that's really what it is, man. They just can't get over it, bro. So I mean, that's really what it is for me, bro. It's just jealousy, honestly. But the old heads, they just can't accept the fact that the newer generation we're just better, bro. Like as far as basketball and football and everything. Like you don't see, like Bam said, you don't see football players doing this, bro. Like they pass the torch. Like they're big on that, on passing the torch to the next generation. It doesn't seem like it's that in the NBA, bro. And it's really egos. Basketball is the individual sport. You build your own brand, PC, basically. So it's really ego, bro. Like it's ego as well. Like these players have watched their favorite players growing up and they did it on their own. You don't have a team to, you know what I'm saying, help you become the player that you are. But fortunately for them, bro, this generation is better and it's just going to only continue to get better. When our kids get older, bro, whenever you feel me, y'all decide to have kids and their generation of basketball is going to be a lot better than ours because technology is better, training is better, players are bigger, stronger, faster, and this is going to continue to go that way, bro.
So I think there was a point where I had like talked about this before, but the evolution of basketball compared to football is so vastly different. Like if you take like a football player from the 1960s, we'll take someone like a Deacon Jones, who was a defensive beast for the LA Rams back in the day. You put him on the LA Rams now with their D line, then it's like, holy shit, this is like the best D line in the NFL. You take someone like a Steve Young and make him the quarterback for the 49ers right now, then the 49ers are all of a sudden the biggest threat to the Eagles in the NFC. You take a Jerry Rice, put him on the same team. He's probably one of the best wide receivers in the NFL. And then you have the NBA where it's like you put a player like we'll say Gary Payton Sr. on the Thunder now. Does he have the same success? A player like I'm trying to think of like a random player from the 80s, like a Dr. J. Like does Dr. J have the same success with the how the game is now because he was an anomaly for his time. The evolution of basketball is the everybody is taller, everybody is stronger, everybody is faster, everybody's got better ball handling skills. Like back in the rules are different too. Like there's just so much now that the NBA does that is different from what it used to be that really like propels like newer generations to be better than what it's ever been before. You can go on any roster in the NBA now and say like, okay, that guy's a future all-star. Back in 1990, even back in like early 2000, early 2010, you could not say that. And that just speaks volumes about like how much like the game of basketball has evolved. And I think a lot of old heads have an issue with that. Funny enough, the only old heads that we don't usually see that tend to have issues with that is people that have won multiple titles. Someone like a Michael Jordan, who seems very content with how his life has been. He still loves the game of basketball. But for someone like a Shaq, someone like a Chuck, someone like even in women's basketball that we see it. Like even women's basketball, we were talking about the other week with Rye. Like Candace Parker, yeah, she's been coming off like a hater, talking about this newer generation of women's basketball and the talent that they've shown, the potential that they've shown. They're I think with
Ego,
football,
man. It's ego.
it's ego on top of just like there being like an actual like evolution in the game. For something like football, football at its core will always be what it's always been. It is your best 11 guys versus my best 11 guys. Let's see who's stronger. Let's see who's tougher. Meet me in the trenches. Meet me in
You
the.
know what's funny?
And
You just really made me think and brought up a great point. The When you talk about the evolution of the sports with basketball, I think that again, like what TK said with pride, with basketball becoming, I guess you could say that it's become easier. And because you could say, oh, the athletes have gotten better, but that's across the world in every sport. Like, I think it's just the fact that the game has become easier to play, more tailored to the fans. That the old heads, again, they can't say, oh, we was better, we was more skilled, because you weren't more skilled. You weren't more athletic. That's just simply the thing. With football, when it came to older football, a lot of these guys, they look at the game now and they was like, I wish I could do that. The fact that these younger guys get to do that, offensive guys can't get held no more. The game is safer in terms of concussions. You can't just hit defensive receivers. Old guys are happy. They paved the way so that young guys could safely play the game now and not get killed, get debilitating injuries, get concussions. They happy to see that. It just, I don't know, man. You would think
and
that the older guys in the NBA would be happy that these guys get to show off, but
It goes
and
back to
bam,
that.
here's
I,
when here's when I knew I had to just stop even indulging in the conversations. PC is when I was on Twitter, bro, and there was literally I don't know how old this dude was, but sometimes older people will be on Twitter, especially when it comes to sports topics. There was some dude, I guess he watched basketball in the 80s and the 90s. Somebody brought up Wimby and basically was asking an older dude, what type of damage do you think Wimby would have did in the 80s and 90s? And I knew I had to shut my fucking mouth when this dude tried to sit up there and tell me that if you were, I can't remember, Kevin McHale, I think is who he mentioned up. He said, put Kevin McHale on Wimbyama for 48 minutes. Wimbyama would not be, bro, I was done with the conversation, bro.
Come on.
Because you're speaking
That's
from such hate and jealousy, bro, for you to say a stupid ass comment like that. It's like the people that say LeBron James wouldn't be able to be who he was in the 80s and 90s. Bro,
you can put
stop it.
any player. I think we had said this before. We talked about this before to a certain extent. Like you could put any like significant role player in the NBA today on a team in the 90s. Like take like a Wemby. I mean, my God, you take someone like a Wemby and put him on
My
a team back
God,
in the
bro.
80s or 90s.
My
They're gonna
God.
burn him at the stake and think that he's a fucking Salem witch. Like
Bro, you see, they probably would have tried to get him out of the NBA. I'm not even joking, bro. Like I know
yeah,
y'all,
I
no,
believe
they
it.
would have tried to get Wemby out of the NBA and be like, nah, send that nigga back to France, bro. He cannot play in our league, bro. Because you can't stop that shit, bro. Like you would not be able to come up with any type of game. I mean, we're seeing it now where the players are so much better and they're playing more defense, or not, they're not playing more defense, but they're playing what's the word I'm looking for? Smarter defense. Because back then, let's just keep it a buck. You were allowed to get away with a lot more. You could hit dudes in the hands. You could trip and do all this bullshit in the 90s that
I
again,
that's a that,
old heads will tell you that was better defense when it really wasn't.
that's another thing too. Like I think for years the commissioner of the league has been looking for like that prototype best basketball player of all time. Like who can be that guy? He has to be tall. He has to be able to play defense. He has to be able to move like a guard and a big body. And I think we've seen an evolution of that over the course of our lives. We've seen guys like a Yao Ming, a Shaq, Bobo, a Manute Bol. Like we've seen all these guys, and now we finally landed on like a version, like a test subject, so to speak. Excuse me, that like that it really seems like at times Wemby was in he didn't come out of vagina, man. Like you said, he came out of a lab serum. He came out of literally a little beaker, and it was Adam Silver that finally put that last drop in, and out popped Victor Wembanyama. And oh my God, now Wembanyama is terrifying the NBA. Is something that I think a lot of like older players have to realize and understand that like yeah, like a lot of these guys looked up to you. They mold their game after you. Like there's so many now that just kind of take that as like a oh, so you think you're better than me sort of thing. When while in the NFL, like it's like the complete opposite, which is so fascinating to me. Literally so fascinating to me. Gianni,
I want to add too, like you said about like the jealousy and everything. Like the 3 point, like the 3 pointer, it changed everything basically. And I think like a lot of people go on the podcast and say, "Oh, now these guys can shoot threes." They probably think, "Oh, we can shoot better than that in our time." Like honestly, that's like a hilarious way for people like back then to think like the players to think that way. You also like bring up Wembyana, like TK said, if Wembyana was in the 80s, they're gonna try to send him back to France because how you like guard that in the 80s in the 90s, like it will be
They would have
impossible.
shipped that nigga back to France, bro. They would have not allowed it.
we're just
Oh,
watching these episodes.
Yeah, like it's just like player jealousy, like the ex players. I think PC brought it up. Is the players that are complaining that are not complaining are players with like multiple rings and stuff like that. My thing really with all this is like these old heads just have to shut up honestly and just like watch and enjoy this game because this game is just amazing right now. Like the 3 pointer, Wembyama is just must watch television and stop comparing like the eras because you don't know how one player could do in this era and another player could do in that other era. That's the other discourse, basically. I think TK, you brought up like NBA Twitter basically does all that stuff, which is annoying. Really, that's not talking basketball. That's just saying some dumb stuff. Honestly.
I think there is so much to say about the future of the NBA because I mean now especially like I think we're now like really like seeing the future of the NBA in full effect. You know, there's no LeBron, which is like he's gonna be out until like mid November. There's no LeBron. There is at some point there ain't gonna be no Curry. There ain't gonna be no KD. Um, and I think that the league has prepared for that. Maybe not in the way that a lot of people expected to prepare for that, but they have prepared for that.
they're trying to
Uh,
make us cry, brother. Because I mean, it's working. I'm getting teary eyed, man. I don't want to think about a league without Brown and Curry and Harden and PG and oh my God, who else am I missing? It's a lot in there, bro.
yes, I want you to ball your eyes out, TK. That was the intention. That was
It's a lot of what?
what?
Huh?
TK, you said it's a lot of what?
Said it's. I don't remember what I said, but I know it wasn't. I know it wasn't no
Yes,
pause,
it
man.
was.
No,
Yes, it
what I
was.
said, bro.
Gianni, what'd he say?
Bruh,
He ain't
Yeah,
about to get me to repeat it. Yeah, Gianni heard
yeah.
that.
Nah,
they will catch lacking.
I thought that
But
was just crazy.
I will tell you
TK,
right
like,
now.
bro. I didn't get. I'm telling you, I didn't get caught lacking PC.
I'm gonna
Yeah,
go
you
back.
watch. We're
I'll
gonna
go
clip
back.
it.
Look,
You gonna clip
I'm
it. That
still
was
live on Twitch,
crazy.
pal. I'm still live on Twitch. They're gonna go back. All right.
That was crazy.
All right. So they hear you loud and clear. I don't know what was said. Sometimes I black
I'm
out.
innocent. I'm innocent. I'm innocent until proven guilty, bro.